All right, I know that I need to get out of the way so you can hear from our very, very good friend. So I'd like to welcome to the stage now. He was once cast as Wakandan janitor number 7 in the Black Panther movie. Our dear friend, astro-bio-futurist, Billy Almond.
Greetings, people of Earth. How are you today? What was that? How are you today? Okay, so based on that first response, I need you all to do something for me, okay? Very gingerly, okay? No pulled muscles. Very gingerly, very lightly, push away from the table. Okay? Give yourself space. Give your neighbor space, okay? This is an active participation conversation we're about to have, okay? Everybody good? Good? Okay. Okay, let's jump into this. I want to talk to you all today about this idea of winds, waves, and tides, and why now is actually the time where we all need to be dreaming really, really big, okay? Now, the reason why I had you push away from the table is because throughout this presentation, I'm going to very randomly say, somebody do the wave. And at that point, thank you. It doesn't matter who starts it. It could be in the front, it could be in the back, my left, my right, your right. It doesn't matter, okay? But whoever starts it, there's gotta be carry through, okay? You gotta follow through on it, all right? All right? Like I said, this is a conversation, so y'all gotta talk back to me. Is that okay? Yes. Okay, somebody do the wave. I saw you, I see you, I see you, I see you stretching in the back. It's fantastic. Okay, let's jump in. All right, so brief introduction, astro-bio-futurist, how space exploration can improve the human condition on life, and for those that will eventually travel to the stars, biomimicry, nature's blueprints for solving just about everything, and futurism. How do we create restorative futures where we are connecting people to themselves, people to each other, and people to the natural world? Cool, all right. So essentially what this translates into is that I connect people to nature's blueprints, and the reason why I do that is to help leaders and organizations translate things that feel impossible. What I've discovered recently is that impossible is a relative term. And so if impossible is a relative term, that means that nothing is really impossible. And so right now, a lot of my work is trying to help people do the things that feel impossible to them while navigating the uncertainty of the world and the uncertainty of trying to do things that feel impossible. So anytime that you see this slide, I need you to say the words that are on this slide, starting now. And you got the cadence already. No one was off beat. Everyone had rhythm. Okay, try it again. All right, y'all falling asleep on me already. Okay, we're gonna work on that. See, I didn't even have to say it. What is your name, miss? Lisa. Give it up for Lisa. Lisa's got the grooves, y'all. She's feeling the energy. I love it. Back to dreaming, okay? So what I wanted to do is kind of just, we're gonna circle back to dreaming in greater detail later, but I wanted to kind of set the stage for it right now. So would you all agree that right now things feel a little in flux, feel a little not as, the ground beneath our feet is not as stable as it once was? Is that something you all would agree with? Right? Would you all agree that there seems to be a sense of a lot of constant change going on right now? Is that safe to say? Would you all agree with that statement? Right now, this is the current state of the world, right? It is this ocean of uncertainty that we find ourselves in. And I have news. It's not good news. It's not bad news. It's just news, okay? This is not changing anytime soon. This is our new reality. And better or worse, there is no going back to what was. Part of why that statement is true is because time is not linear in the sense that we think about it. There is this quote that's attributed to Mark Twain that says that history does not repeat itself, but it does rhyme. And the reason why time is not linear in that A to B sense is that time is a spiral that is constantly moving forward. New ideas are introduced, new technology is developed, new cultures, new value systems, they all evolve pre-existing thoughts. So if you were to take a minute and you were to think about what right now feels like it is rhyming with, the rhyming happens when we're progressing in time, and on certain parts of the curve moving forward, there's an echo to the past of something that rhymed similar, right? But again, because things have changed, they're not quite what they were before. And so what I like to remind people of, especially in this period where I think a lot of people feel like we're rhyming with very specific periods in time, is remember what happens after this particular part of the curve. When we do the work, what tends to happen next? And if you can think about what rhymes next after that work is done, there's actually a lot of hope and optimism in the past, waiting for us to uncover it and leverage its strength. So, with that in mind, I'm going to keep going. I'm going to talk a little bit more about this ocean of uncertainty, a couple of things that are kind of attributing to it, right? There is this convergence that's taking place, where we have all of these interesting dynamics that are popping off all at the same time, and they're starting to interact with each other. And this is also contributing to this sense of a new fluid state that we're finding ourselves in. And so you have these multidisciplinary incursions. A lot of people ask me, astro-bio-futurist, what is that? How does that come together? I personally believe that we are going to enter into a state where we have these hybridized futures, where more than one facet of you shows up simultaneously, and the intersection of those many facets are the solution to some new type of problem, right? So there was a study by IBM that said by 2030, most of the jobs for 2030 haven't been invented yet. And that's like 5 years away from now, right? Are you guys good? Are we flowing? Y'all feel good? Are you dead? You sound dead. Okay, let's work on that. Somebody do the wave. I see it. I see it. I see it. I see it. Okay, somebody hurt themselves back there. Oh, medic. Okay, let's keep going. Y'all ain't even paying attention to the slides. You just lying to my face. You do the wave, but you won't read what's on this. Let's try that again. One more time. Okay, much better, much better. So let's talk about adapting. It's important for me to remind you all that adapting means that you are still in the fight. It means you haven't given up, and it also means it's still all possible. Not only is it possible, it's still all possible. Regardless of what you're seeing, regardless of whatever dynamic this ocean of uncertainty is throwing at you, it's still all possible, and you adapting is evidence of that. So there's a particular part of the ocean that I thought was important to highlight some strategies, right? Some of nature's blueprints for adapting in this dynamic environment. And this area of the intertidal zone is a particular place that has a lot of really unique characteristics that I think are important to highlight and draw some other inspiration from. So the intertidal zone is this area where the ocean meets land, right, between high and low tide. So you have this vertical dynamic of high and low tide, and then you also have this lateral dynamic where you have something that is constantly fluid interacting with something that wants to stay firm and solid and institutionalized. And so what tends to happen in this dynamic place of the intertidal zone is a lot of individual things that look like they are bedrock, that look like they are stable, when the right wave comes along, can be dislodged and removed. So when we talk about the dynamic of high and low tide, what I find most fascinating is the intertidal zone has its own way of going from being an ocean of abundance to a desert of lack and dried out resources. And this is literally happening multiple times throughout the day and throughout the season, right? So you have high tide where everything is in abundance. Sorry, I'm gonna show that one more time. Everything is in abundance, and when there is a lot of abundance and resources are flowing, things below the surface tend to get buried, covered up, and overlooked. But when those resources dry up, that is when a lot of things that were below the surface become exposed. That's when predators start to descend, and that's where the focus on how to survive in a nutrient-lacking environment really kind of kicks into high gear. And so on top of that dynamic, you also have the agents of chaos in oceans of uncertainty as well, which are the waves themselves. And so anything that lives in this dynamic has to be able to survive that high and low tide, desert to ocean flow, while also engaging with the waves in a way that not only allows them to survive, but also thrive in this dynamic environment. Are y'all still with me? Prove it. Okay, it was a little inconsistent right here. I'm a little disappointed in y'all. But the rest of y'all did really good. Let's try it again. Somebody do the wave. All right, all y'all right here are just asleep or you're on TikTok. I don't know what is happening at this table. Having a hard time with you all. Okay, see me after class. All right, so there are three things I wanted to talk to you all about when it comes to waves. There's three types of waves that I want to speak to you all about. The first is ripples. Now, the thing with ripples, all waves are movements and shifts of energy, okay? All waves, movements and shifts of energy. The thing with ripples is that they are small energy shifts. They have unpredictable origins. A ripple can start from anywhere, and anything can cause a ripple. But the thing about ripples is that they are characteristically shallow and fleeting. But the ease at which a ripple can be created is part of its mystique. And what tends to happen is when you look at ripples from a certain perspective, sometimes ripples can look like they're actually waves, even though they're not. And the reason why this is important is when it comes to actual waves, right now, a lot of people are making wave decisions off of ripples. I heard that. Y'all like that, right? That was good, right? That's one of my favorite parts of this. There's a couple more. Okay, let's keep going. So the thing about waves is that they are larger, deeper energy shifts. They're more widespread, and they're more predictable, right? So waves being impacted by the gravitational pull of the moon and et cetera, and all of these other things causes a certain cyclicality, to make up a word on stage, on the spot. And this cyclicality, which I don't know, that is a word, this cyclical nature allows it to be predictable enough to make general decisions off of, right? We have an understanding of what causes them. We have an understanding of when they will emerge. And to some degree, we also understand that waves can run into each other and create swells, right? And so you have this difference. The other thing about ripples, though, is that you can often see ripples on top of a wave, which also masks the underlying nature of the energy shift. So the third wave, I'm going to talk about in a minute. But before I get to that third wave, I wanted to share with you all a couple of blueprints for how to survive in this dynamic environment. So the first are mussels. Okay, mussels are dope, y'all. Somebody do the wave. Okay, you all are inspired. Consistency. Consistency over here. You all, there's some D students over there, okay? I feel it. That's okay. I got a D in biology, and I'm here talking to you about mussels. So there's a future for everyone. Okay, the thing about mussels is they have this amazing ability to cling to things That's the most simple way, that's the most simple statement I will say in this whole talk. And the way that they have this is, you see those strands in that image to the left? Each one of those strands are referred to as byssal threads, okay? And so what they do is at the tip, at the end of each of those byssal threads is this really amazing gluey substance that allows them to attach to things and essentially cement themselves to different objects. And what they like to do is mussels actually like to come together and cluster together, and then they attach themselves to the rock, whatever foundational piece they have that's usually in the crevice of the rocks, and then they attach themselves to each other. Now, the thing I want to point out is when you look at this picture on the left and you see all of those threads, notice that there's not just one thread. There's multiple threads. There's multiple points of connection, okay? And because of this multiplicity of connection, and the fact that they're not just connected to this foundational thing, they're connected to each other, they form these communities. And regardless of the size of the community, because they are connected to each other, they are able to facilitate their ability to filter out toxins from the environment. So during high tide, they are opened up and they take everything in, and then they quickly filter out the things that are not for them, and they pass that on to other organisms that can benefit from the things that aren't good for them. And then during low tide, when they are exposed, they will close themselves up to preserve the moisture that they need. And then what they also do is every so often, they assess their environment. They don't stay closed. Every so often, they'll open up just enough to get a feel for if the environment is safe and if the environment is good for them to completely open themselves up and continue facilitating their work, right? So you have these pockets of communities, and because of these pockets of communities, they are able to take on the brunt of the wave. And because they're connected to each other, they actually dissipate the impact of the force of the wave every time that it goes up. They each take a little bit of the force, and that disperses the wave across all of them, so they survive together, okay? Just some food for thought, no pun intended for those of you who like mussels. Somebody do the wave. See? 5 times this table. You finished strong. I see you with the lanyard. 10 points to Gryffindor, okay? So a couple of thoughts, and this is where if you want to take out your phone, go for it. Screenshot away. But just a couple of things to think about. So for those of you who might have resonated with this idea of the mussels, more opportunities exist together than apart. And a couple of things to think about is creating a system to quickly filter and pass on those opportunities throughout the network, and then designating people or processes to sense the conditions periodically, right? There is no burying your head in the sand. That will come later in another example, okay? And don't worry, if I go too fast, I got you. I got you at the tail end. Are y'all good? All right, is this feeling good? Are you sure? Okay, I like that last answer. Okay, so moving on, seaweed, kelp. These are dope organisms. That is the scientific name of it, okay? Dope organisms. So what I love about seaweed, what made me feel like this was important to share with you all, is the construction of a piece of kelp, or seaweed, bull kelp in this example, is the roots of a plant of seaweed are literally called the holdfast. And what they will do is they will latch on to a rock along the seabed, and they will anchor themselves to that rock. And then the next part of the seaweed is the stem, okay? And the stem remains flexible. So while it's anchored in place, it has this ability to move with the movements of the waves back and forth, while still staying anchored to something that allows it to survive. And then it has these other, what I like to call assets, or skills, or abilities, right? And so if you notice those little ball-looking things along the plant, those are actually gas bladders. And what those gas bladders do is they allow the stem to stay buoyant, to stay upright. So it has these additional things where it's not getting the full whiplash of moving in the waves. It has these other things that can help it stay upright, help it stay afloat as it's in this dynamic environment. And then finally, it has the leaves themselves of the plant, right? Literally the thing that draws energy from the sun, right? And feeds its ability to resist all of these different waves, right? These far-off star, right? This far-off star is feeding this thing's ability to withstand all of this dynamism. Okay, y'all still with me? Prove it. I didn't say wave. Somebody do the wave. See, okay, you hit that one. You hit that one, okay? I got 3 people that are like dedicated to this. Right here in the heart. I felt that. I was supposed to take my glasses off already. Got me emotional. That was a beautiful wave. Okay, let's keep going. So I wanted to show you all this photo of this environment because I think often in this place of dynamism, there is these points where you want to break through the surface, right? You want to come up for air, and it feels impossible. And I think it's important to note that there will be times for that, but you're still built to handle all of this dynamism, okay? Might not feel that way, but it's in there, all right? It's the construction of it allows it to thrive this way. So for those of you who resonate with adapting like seaweed in this current moment, I think it's important to think about assessing who and what you're anchored to in this moment. What is sand and what is rock? And what elements will keep you buoyant during this period of change that is not necessarily going away, right? This dynamic state. And then what are your sources of light? What is feeding your ability to continue growing and continue resisting the whiplash of everything that's going on? Are y'all good? Are you entertained? All right. Notice I said, I didn't say, are you educated? Are you feeling educated? I said entertained. I know what you all want. Okay, let's keep going. So, okay, for this is a shame-free zone, okay? I want none of it, okay? No judgment. Promise. No, I need to see the hands. No, for real. I need to see, no judgment. Okay? It was the pandemic. We didn't know. Okay? No one knew. No one in this room knew. Okay? Masks at the beach, outdoors. No one knew. Okay? We were being safe. No judgment. Okay? Mask at the beach. This was my, at the time, 5-year-old Lexi. And something she loved to do was to dig in the sand and find these little crustaceans that, for us in California, are called mole crabs. They're called sand crabs where we are. Y'all know about mole crabs or sand crabs? If you know about sand crabs, raise your hand. Okay, good. Mole crabs just sounds unholy, okay? So she would, being the curious 5-year-old she would ask me like, Dad, what are these things? Why are they in the sand, right? Being the great dad that I am, I made up an answer, right? It's a crab and it's in the sand. That's as far as I got. Then I went home and Googled, found the actual answer, and then I told her that, in addition to what I had already said. She loved it, right? The reason why I bring this story up, it's not as random as you might think. The reason why I bring this up is because sand crabs are also dope organisms. Say dope organisms. I love my power on the stage. Okay, so the dope thing about sand crabs is they will leverage waves along the surface of the beach. As a wave is rolling in, they will literally surf along that wave. They will leverage the energy and the flow of that wave to arrive at a destination that they think is ideal for opportunities. And then what they'll do is they will burrow themselves backwards into the sand. Notice I said backwards. So that means they are facing the wave. So the sand crabs will face the wave. I'm going to slow down for dramatic effect. Okay. It's a pin drop. It's incredible. This feels great for me. Okay. I don't know. It's awkward for you, but it's great for me. They will slow down. They will burrow themselves backwards, and then they will unfurl those antennae that you see in that left photo. And the reason why they do this, class, who knows? I heard, because they're hungry. They know that the wave, despite it being much bigger than them, has a lot of small opportunities for them to leverage. And they have positioned themselves to take advantage because they know that although there is chaos in the wave, there's also opportunity in chaos. So they unfurl these antennae that have all of these small hairs that allow them to capture en masse small opportunities. So for me, I just love the fact that you have this thing that is facing the wave, right? This onslaught of force and power, but they know that it's actually bringing them something that not only will help them survive, but it will help them thrive. So for those of you who might have, does that work for y'all? Y'all feeling that? Are you sure? Because you're too quiet. And when you're too quiet, y'all getting bored. Okay, so I guess, all right. I see where the bad news section is. I ain't gonna call nobody out. All right, so create antennae to sense these opportunities if you don't already have them in place, right? What are some small opportunities that you may be overlooking because you don't think that they're big enough, but in mass, they could lead to something, right? And also, and this is very important, don't forget to retreat because sometimes going backwards is the right move. Sometimes going backwards is beneficial. And also, the other thing I didn't point out is that the sheer number of sand crabs that you see on a beach is an indicator of the overall health of the ecosystem. So the more organisms that you see facing the wave, the healthier the ecosystem. Okay, all right. Oh, that's right, that's my time. So, okay, now we've talked about ripples, we've talked about waves, we've talked about a couple of nature's blueprints. Now I want to talk to you all about the third type of wave. And remember, all waves are shifts and movements of energy. And that brings me to tsunamis. We are very obviously in a tsunami season right now, arguably more than one. The thing about tsunamis to note is that whereas waves, we have a cyclical, predictable understanding, ripples, small and fleeting, the thing that causes tsunamis are earthquakes below, at the ocean floor, right? So literally, foundational shifts below the surface, right? And these foundational shifts below the surface, what they cause to happen is they cause the wave itself to not be seen until it's actually closest to shore. So these tsunamis, the sheer force of them, have the ability to uproot a lot of existing or pre-existing structures, right? They can wipe away entire ecosystems. But the other thing about tsunamis is that, again, the waves are the agents of chaos, and there is still opportunity in chaos. So while they're able to clear out a pre-existing ecosystem, all waves have the same nature of stirring up nutrients and dispersing it throughout the ocean. Tsunamis are no different. And so what happens in a lot of places, one more time. You don't need knees to say this, okay? Give me one more. Much better, thank you very much. Okay, this was literally, see if y'all still awake by this point. I got 1 minute and 42 seconds left. Okay, so the thing about tsunamis is they mix up a lot of nutrients and they disperse it throughout the ocean, even in these places that they have just wiped away what was. And so why now is the time to be dreaming big is because in the midst, you don't have to say it this time, I don't have enough time for it. In the midst of this new dynamic that these tsunami events are creating, they are actually preparing the soil for what comes next. So I was in LA during the LA fires, and thank God, directly we weren't impacted, but had many family members and friends who were deeply impacted by all of that. And I bring that up because one of the things that gave me a lot of hope in that moment was understanding the nature of lodgepole pine that grow in California. Does anybody know about lodgepole pine? Okay, great. Yes, woo, I love that in the back. The cool thing about lodgepole pine is that, and many other types of pine and seeds do this, but they only release their seeds after a fire. And it's not so much the fire itself that causes them to release the seeds, it is the fact that it's a certain temperature. It takes a certain temperature to melt the resin that covers the seed. And when it reaches that temperature and it melts, that's when the seeds are released. So it's a timing thing. And so even in the midst of tsunami events, there is a timing thing to planting seeds. And so there's one other seed in particular that I wanted to talk to you all about, and it is beach morning glories. Anybody know about beach morning glories? Anybody know about dormant seeds? Okay, I've got 6 gardeners. Great, thank you, thank you. So the thing about dormant seeds is they have these very hard shells that allow the seeds to actually be able to float in the ocean for long periods of time. And they have to go through this process that's called abrasion, where literally the exterior of the seed has to be scratched and cracked and clawed so that it can open. And after this period of abrasion, that's when the interior of the seed starts to sense the environment around it to see if the conditions are right for it to start growing. And one of the things that facilitates the abrasion are tsunami events. That mixing of the sand and of what was, the turbulence of all of that, is the facilitator of the growth of what was a seed into what comes next. And so the other thing about beach morning glories is they are what's referred to as a pioneering species. So as they start growing in this new environment, they form a network and they hold the sand of the beach together. And by forming this network and holding the beach together, they allow other seeds and other things to come and start growing on top of them. So, yes, there's a lot of craziness going on right now, okay? There's a lot of unfortunate things that no one should experience or be exposed to. But that does not mean that there is no opportunity in this chaos. And so I just very quickly, thank you, plus 2 minutes. Appreciate that. I feel like I won the lottery. A couple of things I want to talk about, because dreams are seeds. Seeds are dreams are seeds. And the anatomy of a dream is that dreams are embedded with the hopes we hold in darkness. The same place where you plant seeds, right? And also, dreams are their own form of resistance. Right up there with rest, right? Rest and dreaming. So going back to the seaweed, the light is the thing that feeds the seaweed's ability to withstand. Dreams are part of that circle. You cannot just resist without having something that you're clinging to, an idea, an aspiration, a vision, right? And then also, dreams are blueprints. Sorry. I'm landing the plane. Y'all good? Are y'all with me? You feeling it? You feeling the love? Okay, I didn't feel the love from that reply, but I'm glad that you're feeling the love. I'll settle for that. One-sided relationship. All right. Let's keep this going. Dreams are seeds, seeds are dreams. I said that already. High achiever. I know what kind of grades you got. I can see your GPA on you. It's amazing. Thank you so much for that. Okay, so we're landing the plane. I promise. Thrive. Before we get to that, there's no smooth transition into this. If you've liked what I've said so far, I would love for you all to very quickly just take a minute and let me know if any of this resonated with you. And also, this presentation, a version of it, is available for you to download and share if you so feel the desire to. So I just wanted to give everyone a minute to absorb that. Okay, I'll give it, since I got more time now, 15 more seconds. All right, I'm seeing phones go down, which tells me everybody's done. All right, okay, so thrive. Thriving in uncertainty, thriving in this ocean dynamic is really about the mindset and the systems that you set up to facilitate your ability to know that you're in this dynamic and still excel and do more than survive in it, right? You have the understanding and the awareness that this is the dynamic. So in spite of knowing that this is the dynamic, thriving is a mindset and a choice that we can embody. And what I think is important to remember is memory, right? That rhyming, remember what we're rhyming with, remember what can be, is a part of that. So thriving by remembering comes down to a couple of things that I think it's very important for you all in the work that you all are doing to set the stage for what comes next, for the seeds that you are planting in all of these students. It's important for you all to remember that there's more for you to do. You're built for this. There's new places for you to go, and there's places that you are supposed to see. There are new dreams that you are meant to build and explore and to inspire for others. And remember what's happening now, it is part of the process. And you're built to endure this. It doesn't mean it feels good. And abrasion can hurt. You are subject to being cracked and scarred and bruised. But you are built for this. It is part of the process. And most importantly, if you continue to endure, the transformation will be worth it. Okay? So, with that, thank you very much.